dun da 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 da. Oh, glad you're here. I hope you're doing well. Watch this with me real quick.
Our shareholders have been patient, but let's be honest, no one's impressed by a dinosaur anymore.
With Jurassic World Rebirth coming out this year, I decided to talk about Jurassic World, the 2015 sequel boot of the classic Jurassic Park trilogy and the jumping off point for a sequel trilogy that wrapped up in 2022 with Jurassic World Dominion. When I was a kid, I was a huge dinosaur nerd. There was a book of dinosaurs in my elementary school library that I used to check out as often as possible. My favorite dinosaur was the Spinosaurus, quickly replaced by the velociraptor. However, when the original Jurassic Park trilogy was coming out, I wasn't allowed to watch them. I think. Perhaps I wasn't old enough. The point is, I didn't watch them until I was past my dinosaur phase, and by then I'd moved on to being obsessed with other things. So when I got around to originally watching Jurassic World, it wasn't to relive my childhood. It was actually a bit of a hate watch. Like Twilight, but dinosaurs. I was just there to say stuff was stupid and to point out plot holes. This was peak CinemaSins and movie fights era after all. Now, I'm not going to pretend that rewatching it now gave me some sort of special epiphany or something. To be clear, this isn't a great movie. It is fun though, and tailor-made for the big screen. However, unlike some other dumb popcorn fun, this movie seems to be trying to say something, and I think we should take an all-expenses-paid vacation to Isla Nublar and see what all the fuss is about. So we open with two annoying kids, Zach, the older brother, and Gray, the dinosaur-loving younger brother. They're being sent to Isla Nublar to vacation with their Aunt Claire by their parents who are definitely getting a divorce. Once they arrive, they're greeted by Claire's beautiful assistant, who I'm sure will play a huge role in the rest of the film.
Where's Aunt Claire?
I don't know, probably doing her job. This is here as a piece of evidence that Claire is too work-obsessed and clearly has become distant enough from her family that she can't even take time to greet her nephews on their arrival. There will actually be better evidence to make this point later on, but I guess they've got to start laying the groundwork now. Her assistant Zara takes Gray and Zach to their hotel, and we get a nice shot of the sprawling park, flying over the throngs of people moving from shop to shop, and then up the hill to a large command center. We see Claire preparing to walk some investors or executives through asset development, and give them the pitch on the dinosaur that they will be sponsoring. And I'm just gonna stop here and address some things so they don't need to come up again in Fallen Kingdom or Dominion. Supposedly, for this promo for Jurassic World, Bryce Dallas Howard's delicious dumper. Wow, okay. Wow. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'll try again. Prodigious rump. Okay. Supposedly, for this promo for Jurassic World, Bryce Dallas Howard's prodigious rump was photoshopped to be smaller. This is apparently not the case. Or at least not necessarily, as the photo from the side-by-side was taken 10 months later. That's not super relevant, but what is totally unprompted. Before I decided to do this video, I found out producers wanted her to lose weight for the third installment of Jurassic World, and that Colin Trevorrow stood up for his star, and as he should have. Anytime I hear about some behind-the-scenes issues on a movie, it's always something stupid like this. Also, we stand a thick queen. I'm digressing super hard here. So Claire is the operations manager for Jurassic World, and she walks the executives through the lab, which has park visitors watching from the outside as the super secret work the scientists were doing before is now on display for the common folk, and she highlights the current societal picture the park resides in very plainly.
These days, kids look at a stegosaurus like an elephant from the city zoo.
Dinosaurs are commonplace, and like other forms of entertainment, the public wants escalation. And asset development has to deliver. They are driven by pressure from the public, profit incentive, and the watchful eyes of shareholders to play God. And they have just created the devil. The Indominus Rex, the first genetically modified dinosaur, created not from dust or a rib, but in a lab. Zach and Gray head to the Samsung Innovation Center, which on its own would do crazy numbers in real life, let alone having actual, real, breathing dinosaurs. and they meet up with Aunt Claire. Gray hugs her, and she's surprised because apparently kids don't hug their aunts, even if they haven't seen them in 7 years. This is bad. Bad aunt. It's another example of Claire being too dedicated to her work for anything else, including family. This is a much better example than the one that they gave earlier about her being work-obsessed. She leaves them in the care of her assistant Zara and promises to spend time with him the next day because she has to get back to work. Zach stares disapprovingly, which is the only thing he has done the entire movie to literally everyone, including his own girlfriend. Back to the control center, where Claire gets briefed on the situation on the ground at the park that currently contains almost 23,000 people. Jake Johnson is here playing literally the exact same character he plays in every single thing. And the legacy of Jurassic Park comes up.
Didn't occur to you maybe that's in poor taste?
The shirt? Yeah, no, it did. I understand people died.
You did create an entire new park on top of the old park and filled it with the same dinosaurs that killed those people, so maybe check yourself before you wreck yourself. Another nerd asks if she closed the deal earlier, and the capitalist fuel that powers the park comes up again.
Verizon Wireless presents the Indominus Rex.
Now, people made fun of this line when the film first came out, and I totally understand. But also, the sentiment behind the line does make sense, whether it's stadiums in real life or innovation centers in fictional dinosaur parks. However, as we will come to see, this entire park doesn't make any sense and is tailor-made for disaster. A Pachycephalosaurus has escaped its zone, and we get a glimpse of some of the safety measures, how problems are handled and the ecosystem maintained.
Pachy's short out their implants when they butt heads.
How much longer until they get it out of there?
As we'll see later, this park operates like a safari ride in certain areas, where vehicles are taken into the field amongst the attractions, which is dumb. Jake Johnson reminds her that these animals aren't just assets, they're real creatures, deserving of empathy. And Claire is notified of an inbound chopper called Jurassic World. Indian Jeff Bezos is here, and he asks Claire about the condition of his park, and when she starts giving him a financial rundown, he corrects her. What about the guests? What about the animals?
We don't have a way to measure the animal's emotional experience.
Masrani tells Claire to live a little, to take some time for herself, and Claire reminds him running a park costs money. Masrani lectures her about the legacy of Hammond.
John Hammond entrusted me with his dying wish, and not once did he mention profit.
Also, he's rich, spare no expense. They arrive at the Indominus Rex paddock, and Claire lets Masrani know some of the speed bumps they've encountered along the way.
One of the handlers nearly lost an arm, the others threatened to quit.
Asset Protection insisted the walls be built higher because the Indominus is bigger than anticipated. Speaking of anticipation, it also started anticipating where its food would come from, keying us into its intelligence.
So she's intelligent then?
For a dinosaur?
It also tried to break the glass. And as Masrani watches it lurking in the trees, he's very clearly scared by it. But that's a good thing, but it can also sense thermal radiation. And also, she ate her twin.
Oh my God, bro.
Oh, hell no.
Still, Masrani wants an Indiana Jones named Owen Gray to come inspect the paddock to see just how safe it really is. Owen Grady is busy training some velociraptors while being watched by a man named Hoskins, head of security for the park. He's really wanting Owen to publish his research, which we'll learn in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom is actually more substantial than we'll see here.
We know that the military needs to reduce casualties. Some people think that robots are the future.
He's also a man obsessed with weaponizing dinosaurs.
Look, nature gave us the most effective killing machines 75 million years ago.
Which is stupid. He spent some time making terrible arguments about how dinosaurs would be superior to tech like drones for searching tunnels.
Drones can't search tunnels and caves, and they're hackable. The minute a real war breaks out, all that fancy tech is gonna go dark.
Once again, This is stupid.
Well, then we remind them who is. We terminate the rogues. Promote only loyal bloodlines.
What?
You're a genius,
That's
dude.
fucking illegal.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Like I said, it's stupid. While they're talking, a pig gets loose, and instead of just letting it go, some loser ends up getting pulled into the enclosure, and Owen gets to put his training to the test. Zack and Gray ditch Zara, and Zack gets a call from his mom, who is appalled to find out that Claire, who only has a massive dinosaur park to run, isn't walking around babysitting them. She then calls Claire, who admittedly should have been with the boys because she did say she would be, and gives her a talking to about how this is supposed to be a family vacation. It's pretty clear that divorce proceedings are happening in the background, and this will be the last vacation before the children find out. However, it isn't clear whether Claire knows her sister, named Karen by the way, is even getting a divorce. Claire meets with Owen Grady, and it's clear the two have a history, but apparently that history is only one date, so I don't know why they're making so much of this. Zack and Gray are chilling out at the Mosasaurus exhibit, and it's being fed a great white shark, like it's a light snack. Zack is being an asshole because that's all he does, looking at pics his GF sent him. She told him before he left on the trip to keep her updated at all times, and it kinda seems like that might actually be necessary because he can't seem to keep his eyes from wandering towards every girl he sees. And he almost misses the Mosasaurus, which you just can't convince me people would be used to an alligator that, in this movie, in certain shots, would be the largest animal to ever exist. But at the very least is listed at 60 feet long as canon. And look, Zack is even smiling. Wow, that's nice. Owen and Claire arrive at the Indominus Rex paddock and have a sidebar about the state of dinosaur parks as a cultural touchstone.
The park needs a new attraction every few years in order to reinvigorate the public's interest.
Owen asks what the Indominus Rex is made of.
The base genome is a T-Rex, the rest is classified.
The heat signature sensors start going off, and Owen points out to Claire some claw marks on the wall of the paddock, and Claire assumes the worst. The Indominus Rex has escaped. Claire gets in contact with Control to get coordinates on the Indominus, while Owen and some dinosaur fodder go inside the enclosure to look at the claw marks up close. It's possible for Owen to believe the dinosaur could have escaped the enclosure by climbing out, but it makes absolutely no sense for Claire to believe this. She knows what the Indominus Rex looks like, and Jake Johnson lets them know it's still in the enclosure, which they could have checked before anyone did anything, but movies got a movie, I guess. Dinosaur fodder number 1 heads for the gate, while dinosaur fodder number 2 just doesn't beat the red light and gets gobbled up. And, okay, I'm so sorry, I have to stop again. I know it's 2015, but where are the drones? Where are the cameras suspended above the paddock or inside on trees so the animal can be monitored from multiple angles? The safety measures and protocols are extremely lacking. The fact that they went inside the paddock of an apex predator before confirming whether the animal was inside is insane. In the context of this world, Jurassic Park has already happened. People have been eaten alive by dinosaurs. This park is built on top of the bones of the old park. The cost to insure a park like this must be astronomical, let alone the lawsuits brought by workers who get injured on the job or killed. The premiums, the hazard pay in basically every position worked at that involves being around dinosaurs must be huge. The earlier scene where a worker gets dragged into the velociraptor enclosure is a great example. The security measures and protocols are severely lacking, and we'll see just how badly soon enough. Fodder number 1 opens the gate to the Indominus paddock, and Owen escapes through, but the Indominus damages the door before it can be closed and also gets free. Owen hides beneath a service vehicle, but fodder number 1 simply can't fit underneath the vehicle he's taken shelter behind. And unfortunately, the Indominus knocks the vehicle into the air, exposing him and gobbling him up as well. Owen cuts a gas line or some other fluid and covers himself in it, masking his meat odor as the Indominus sniffs around the vehicle, hoping for a third snack. He survives, and the Indominus heads away to enact its plan. Claire arrives at Control, where everyone is shaken up after hearing 2 men get eaten alive. The nerd from before tries to put out a park-wide alert, but Masrani orders it off.
The very existence of this park is predicated on our ability to handle incidents like this.
But clearly, you can't, and you have not adequately prepared for any real catastrophic event, and this will continue to become more and more apparent. The ACU, or Asset Containment Unit, gears up and prepares to bring the Indominus to heel. Hoskins is hanging out with Owen's second in command when the message comes through. An Asset has escaped containment. He confers with some mysterious person or group over his walkie-talkie before we cut to a simply ridiculous shot of a migrating group of some herbivorous ornithopods running while a safari truck rides amongst them. Kind of how safari trucks ride right in the middle of herds of elephants, and that definitely happens for sure all the time. Above the field, on a train, Zack is attempting to rizz up a girl seated behind them before Gray interrupts him by telling them their parents are getting divorced. Once Gray starts crying because he's, 12, Zack continues to be an asshole for no reason. This is one of the 3 character traits established so far: being an asshole, being standoffish and detached, and entertaining girls who aren't his girlfriend. We're supposed to not want him to die, by the way. We get a quick shot of some more uninsurable insanity as we see kayakers with no barrier of any kind between them and massive dinosaurs that would kill them with an absent swing of their tail, paddling slowly downstream. Owen arrives at control to confront Claire, and we get some more stupidity.
It must have been some kind of a technical malfunction.
For some reason, Claire is written to completely disrespect the intelligence of animals, or maybe just dinosaurs. Maybe she's animal racist against dinosaurs. I'm not sure, but ACU has arrived to contain the Indominus. And their weaponry? Stun batons and a net gun.
Oh, Jesus.
There are also tranquilizer rifles, it seems, as well, but come on.
You're going after her with non-lethals.
Good question, Owen. Thank you. The commander comes upon a chunk of flesh, and within it is the tracker.
Plant, she clawed it out.
How would it know to do that?
So she's intelligent then.
For a dinosaur?
This just wouldn't happen. These dinosaurs are attractions. Claire, a regimented, intelligent, risk-averse, money-minded workhorse, would never purposefully ignore clear warning signs at every turn like this.
For a dinosaur?
She knows for sure the Indominus can fool thermal readings and has the intelligence to trick them into believing it's escaped, not just by fooling the thermal reading, but by providing false evidence for a means of escape by clawing the walls, all for the purpose of getting the paddock open. It knows what a tracker is, and does, and remembers where it was implanted. It then uses said tracker to trick the ACU team into an ambush because it can also camouflage. They get massacred. But what is hilarious to me is the inhumanly brave individuals that ran in with stun batons while the other ACU members were getting eaten or crushed by its tail, even after the opening salvo of tranquilizer darts had zero effect. Also, apparently, tranquilizer darts have zero effect. Owen has seen enough. He wants the Indominus killed. It was raised in captivity, so it will kill everything it sees, blah blah blah. Smart enough to break my goddamn immersion. Smart enough that Owen pouring car liquids on himself wouldn't have fooled the Indominus when it first escaped the enclosure. It would know Owen had hit himself instead of simply disappearing. Anyway, he's off to the lab to confront the geneticist after suggesting they evacuate the park. We're back with Zack and Gray, and Zack is back to shutting up his little brother so he can check out chicks. They hop into a gyrosphere ride before the order to shut it down makes it to the ride worker. Henry Wu, the mad scientist, is in his lab before he is confronted by Masrani, who has some pertinent questions.
What purpose could we have for a dinosaur that can camouflage?
Wu retorts with the obvious. You basically gave us carte blanche. You didn't just tell us to play God, you told us to spare no expense while we did it. And if we don't do it, someone else will. We get a nice little one-liner from Henry.
Monster is a relative term. To a canary, a cat is a monster. We're just used to being the cat.
You serious?
Okay, to be clear, we're still the cat.
Dude.
This movie will try to convince you that dinosaurs are basically Godzilla or out of our control, like a fully realized AI, but no. Zack and Gray are riding a gyrosphere through a herd of dinosaurs. The gyrosphere glass can stop a 50 caliber bullet, which I'm sure is equivalent to, let's say, a dinosaur lightly pressing its claws against the glass. We'll see. Once again, how the hell much does it cost to insure this park? And why would they have rides like this? Claire attempts to get them to recall the gyrosphere the boys are in. The call fails. She tries to send out search and rescue. They have their hands busy, so she decides to do it herself, but not before she catches a glimpse of Owen Brady. Stupid idiot Zack takes the gyrosphere through a smashed portion of the fence where his little brother informs them that being around 4 ankylosaurs, dinosaurs with mace tails, isn't a great idea.
3, 4,
5.
I stand corrected. The Indominus is here as well. The gyrosphere gets pinballed around while the Indominus fights an ankylosaur, damaging it. And then it kills the ankylosaur before immediately moving on to the gyrosphere, easily breaking the glass with a claw from its chicken-like forelegs before fitting the sphere in its jaws like an egg and cracking it open, sending Gray and Zack tumbling out. They manage to run across an open field to a waterfall and jump in before the Indominus can turn them into a snack. Owen and Claire come across a fallen brontosaurus or something while searching for her nephews, and Claire sheds a tear as her dinosaur racism comes into contrast with the very real CGI dinosaur dying in front of her.
It didn't eat him. It's killing for sport.
It also seems like the Indominus is literally just evil. They find the shattered gyrosphere that clearly isn't very safe at all, and once again, how the hell much does it cost to insure this park? How is it legal? What company would sign off on these types of rides and exhibits when they're controlled by members of the public who have free reign to go wherever they choose in the park? Hoskins is back, and he is hornier than ever for some velociraptor action. The Indominus Rex is killing its way south, towards the heat bloom of 20,000 people who will be sitting ducks, ripe for slaughter. It's not like having no evacuation system at all. For a park full of dinosaurs on an island would be a bad idea. Once again, how is this place insured? And how is it even legal? Hoskins wants the velociraptors released so they can hunt and kill the Indominus, because he watched them listen to Owen sometimes. Mounting an M134, which for some reason is the only lethal weapon on the island, onto a helicopter, cranking some Fortunate Son, and blasting the Indominus with 6,000 rounds of 7.62mm per minute. Zack and Gray managed to get a Jeep that's been sitting in the open for 20 years to run using the power of family. Owen and Claire aren't far off because they can hear the Jeep in the distance. However, there's another reunion they're due for. Claire and Owen flee, and the Indominus is distracted by Jurassic World flying overhead. It heads directly for the apiary and breaks in, sending a flood of pterodactyls or something flying out, causing Masrani to crash through the apiary's dome and into the ground, causing a massive fireball. And now the pterodactyls are free to dive bomb the defenseless parkgoers. With Masrani dead and Claire trying to find her nephews, it looks like Hoskins is poised to take control as he watches the chaos displayed across a dozen cameras. Zack and Gray find Zara among the chaos just in time for her to get snatched up by pterodactyls for the most over-the-top death scene I've ever seen in one of these movies. She's dumped in the mosasaur tank before a pterodactyl dives in and drags her out, dunking her multiple times like I would dunk a peanut butter Oreo, before the mosasaurus rises up and eats them both. Claire saves Owen from a bird thing and reunites with Zack and Gray. Also, Hoskins is officially taken over. And would you look at that? Real guns! Wow! The plan to hunt the Indominus is in motion, and Claire is ready to take the boys to relative safety while Owen makes sure the velociraptors stay in line. The raptors head out into the night to run their prey down, with Hoskins' kill team right behind. The Indominus reveals itself and starts communicating with the raptors.
Step forward, those who would serve, for an army will be raised.
The Indominus Rex has spoken. Under the control of a new alpha, the raptors dismantle the kill team and almost kill Owen's second in command, forcing him to use himself as bait to draw it away. Claire's been watching from her van with the boys in the back, and a dying kill team member has just enough strength to jump scare her into running before he opens the doors conveniently and then dies. The raptors chase after the emergency van, and Gray and Zack have to keep them from entering the swinging doors. They succeed, meet up with Owen, and head back to the park. Barges have come in the hours since the initial attack to evacuate the attendees, and as Claire and crew head to the lab, they run into Hoskins. He starts doing another speech, and finally, thank the gods, a raptor shows up to put us out of our misery. The raptor then chases Claire and crew out of the building and into the waning arms of two other raptors who surround them. But Owen's favorite, Blue, is loyal to his trainer. And just in time, the Indominus shows up, ready for a late night snack. While Owen and the raptors fight the Indominus, Claire runs off to find a heavy hitter of her own to even the playing field. It's the T-Rex. And doing some impressive running in heels, covered in enough baby oil to make the rock blush, she throws the flare she led the T-Rex with right at the target. The T-Rex and Indominus fight, and the T-Rex loses. But Blue is back, and they team up like a T-800 and a T-200 versus the T-1000. They batter the Indominus, leaving it down for the count. And as it stands up, our good friend, the mosasaur, drags it into the massive pool, never to be seen again. At least, not alive, that is. The next day, Gray and Zack reunite with their parents. Claire cries it out with her sister, and the smoldering embers between her and Owen seem to be ready to... hold on. And the charcoals of Claire and Owen's sexual tension seems to be ready to grill No, hold on. I can land this. I got it. And the sunrise of Claire and Owen's... You know what? Claire and Owen are probably gonna date now. The T-Rex roars, and the credits roll. Now, this is a big, dumb dinosaur movie. It doesn't really have anything pertinent to say about corporate greed or the dangers of unfettered scientific exploration, or the ethics of, zoos, I guess, but it pretends like it does sometimes. This isn't necessarily true of the second film. It does try to say things and pose interesting ethical questions, it just doesn't go well. Ultimately, Jurassic World suffers from Star Wars disease. It's when a series wants to continue the timeline of its predecessor media, to literally build on top of the old structures, wants to discuss themes and ethics that weren't necessarily explored as deeply for a new audience in a new context, but doesn't really want to live in the reality of that world. For example, The Force Awakens happens 30 years after the defeat of the Empire, and in that span, a new massive fascistic force with massive planet-destroying weapons, a vast sea of equipment, money, and personnel, a new dark Jedi figurehead with a manipulative, shadowy master, and a new resistance, complete with a plucky protagonist who needs to find and be trained by a Jedi master who lives in self-imposed exile after a massive failure. There is no real exploration of the political reality and power vacuum after such a massive collapse. No real feel for any powerful corporate interest that might be involved. No real sense of ramifications like famine or brutal factionalized civil wars. Coups, power grabs. No. Just an immediate return to the status quo. The same goes for Jurassic World. This park would never happen again. Jurassic Park 2 and 3 are apparently ignored, but not retconned, by this film, and perhaps they'll be relevant again by the time I get to Dominion. But 22 years is not a long enough time to forget a catastrophe. O.J. Simpson killed 2 people, and we're still talking about him. We found out dinosaurs are real 22 years before Jurassic World. Somehow, they built an entire park on top of the last park, filled it with dinosaurs and personnel and workers. Filled it with dinosaurs and security personnel and shop workers. And by the time the movie happens, people are somehow sick of seeing dinosaurs? First of all, people who own cats spend all their time watching cat videos. This just wouldn't happen. They needed to get back to a status quo of a bunch of dinosaurs roaming free on an island so they can get to a bunch of dinosaurs being spread out over the earth. But it does do what it needs to do. Jurassic World: The Cretaceous Awakens was a decently fun watch. Well, I guess I'll see you guys on Capitol Hill for the next film. Laters.